All right, folks, let's now talk about our second story, which we want to get to, and that is the issue of the midterm elections. Of course, you saw Democrats take about 40 seats in the U.S. House, flipping those seats. Now they control the U.S. House. Republicans expanded their lead on the Senate side, but also black voters played a huge role when it came to black voters played a huge role when it came to the issue of gubernatorial races and others as well. All right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. You should write this website down, marijuanastock.org, marijuanastock.org. I'm going to tell you why. As we transition into the holiday season, this is the time when we start thinking about giving and sharing. Sometimes the best gift you can give someone is an opportunity that could potentially change their lives. That's why our friends at Transatlantic Real Estate have created an investment opportunity for the everyday investor. It involves legal marijuana and crowdfunding. Now, we all know that legal marijuana has created one of the fastest growing industries in this country. We also know that crowdfunding makes it easy to be an early investor of an opportunity. This, folks, is a no-brainer. But what Transatlantic Real Estate is doing is they have a business model that is simple to understand. They buy land that supports marijuana grow operations and lease it to the licensed, high-paying tenants. So you'll be a landlord of a licensed marijuana farm in a high-growth market. Now, you can invest anywhere from $300 up to $10,000 before the company chooses to go public. Now, here is some more good news. They have recently extended the offer, which means you still have time if you take action now. Now, what you must do is complete and confirm your application to participate. To be sure to complete the process. Don't spend all your money over the holidays and end up with empty pockets. Instead, get a return on your investment. You can also consider making an investment for someone special. Call this your holiday gift or early gift. To get started, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. You can get in the game and do it now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. Of course, Melanie Campbell, the National Coalition of Black Civic Participation, they actually had their exit poll of black women. Here's what the exit poll found. Black women say they voted because it is their responsibility to do so. Okay? So if you look at this chart, that's the green line, 76%. Now, 11% voted to support a ballot issue. We saw ballot issues in Florida, in Michigan, and a number of other states as well. Now, in Florida, when it came to the ballot issue, that number jumped to 45%, to the blue line right there. Now, of course, these were the issues highly important to black women. Issues like affordable health care, criminal justice, policing reform, equal rights and equal pay, hate crimes, racism, jobs, employment, and voting rights. Now, one of the areas I want to get with, talk to Melanie about, of course, what happened in Florida. Yes. A lot of people saw the initial exit polling that showed 18% of black women voting for Ron DeSantis. Now, if you study the numbers anywhere, first of all, Republicans will tell you black women hate the Republican Party more than anybody else, literally voting 92 to 94% for Democratic candidates. I can't remember the last time you actually saw a polling number where black women were supporting Republicans in double digits, definitely 18%. Remember, Andrew Gillum lost by 31,000 votes to Ron DeSantis in Florida. And so joining us right now is Melanie Campbell with the National Coalition of Black Civic Participation and the Black Women's Roundtable. So Melanie, I want to talk with Florida first. So can you explain that 18%? Because a lot of folks were like, oh my goodness, what the heck happened? Right. And I said, okay, you're going to be surprised when you find out. What was the case there?
Well, there's the jury's still out on whether that is a good number, because talking to some of our political sciences folks, like Elsie Scott and others, that first poll that came out, about 18%, had a very, very nominal number in it when it came to black women. And there is other studies, other numbers that will come out that say that number may even be 90+%. So I'm in the camp to say I want to see a little more depth in those numbers as the hardcore numbers come out, to see if 18% is real. So that was because I was on the ground a lot.
But here's the thing. But here's the thing, though.
In that election, and I don't believe the number.
Here's the thing, though. That was a piece that was in the Wall Street Journal, where the point was made that for a lot of those black women, they voted for DeSantis on the issue of school choice. And so you have about 100,000 people who are in the Opportunity Scholarship program there in Florida. About 80 or 85% are black and brown. And so that group, I was in the meeting because also, just folks know, we do our show here with 50 Cans, Education Reform Group. I'm on the board of directors, and so we actually do our show from this office. We actually, pay rent here as well. And so we were in our meeting, and one of the things we talked about was that that group they had very targeted advertising talking about Andrew Gillum's position on that opportunity scholarship and charter schools and school choice compared to Ron DeSantis. And they were aggressively targeting them. I also, in talking to some of those folks, said the Gillum people saw the evidence that it was making a difference and sort of asked them to pull back because they saw that they had erosion there as well. And so that 18% could explain that.
It could, but I'm going to stay in the jury box of let me get a little more evidence. Because sometimes exit polls, as we all know, cannot be correct. And so based on all of what I saw and engaged in, really we were down in Florida for really all year, year round. And so I want to wait to see that number. But I will say that, as you were pointing out, the results of our Election Day exit poll, what we do know for sure is when it came down to that ballot initiative around Amendment 4, especially, that we know it had a major influence. So the issues around voting rights and issues around criminal justice reform, those kinds of issues were very much what I heard when I went into communities and knocking on doors. I honestly didn't hear a lot of people even talking about education. Not saying that it's not important, and it may be based on where we're working.
But also remember,
that was not what came out in the conversations, in the town hall meetings, in the places that I was involved.
But that was
I'm not saying
but here's
not.
the piece. That was the conversation, though. What we do know is that when you look at the balloting, there were a number of people who voted, let's say, in the Bill Nelson race who didn't vote in the Andrew Gillum race. And then, of course, you had a much higher number of people who voted for the ballot initiative.
Yeah, more people voted for the ballot initiative than anything. And then
people could have voted for the ballot initiative and skipped the other two races.
Well, the other part of that being, and I'm a native Floridian from, the great big city of Mims, Florida, and understanding that when it came down to the Amendment 4, as you well know, Roland, you supported, this was a work, a labor of love with Desmond and Sheena and everybody down there who really had been working on this for a very, very long time. And so people were that's why you were able to build that bipartisan relationship. But it also said that people who voted, and this is something that as we get to go a little deeper, have to get a better understanding on this. Okay, if you voted for Amendment 4 and Gillum supported Amendment 4 and the other, Scott for Senate and DeSantis didn't, but you voted for that, but you voted for the people who didn't support it. So there's more that has to be done and delve deeper.
Look, here's the piece. People vote for different reasons.
Exactly.
Folks have different interests. And the reason I'm making the point about, again, when you saw the 18% and you saw Gillum lose about 31%, look, it is a lesson. It is a lesson to Democrats who run and who might be strong school choice voices against, because you have to understand, people vote for various reasons.
For various reasons,
and if you have black women out there, black mothers and black fathers who are saying, yo, the most important thing is education to my kids, they might say, I'm a single issue voter. I'm just saying that I think if you're a Democrat, you better really study what happened in Florida because that could be an impact somewhere else because it comes to those issues. What else jumped out in the exit polling?
What jumped out is issues around quality of life. Number one issue, one of the number one issues was affordable health care, right? Concerned about affordable health care being protected, protecting Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And Roland, what was interesting, as we delved in, we had a lot of good numbers with Gen Z, Gen X, as well as older, middle and older voters, black women voters, and those still were the key issues for black women. And so that's for us as we work to get ready for 2019 and 2020, because one of the things people said, well, the only thing people were voting for was going to be on health care. No, it was other kinds of concerns as well. And when you delve deeper in the state, like you talked about Florida, in Georgia, one of the things that we do have deeper numbers that we didn't put out yet. But in Georgia, with the voting rights, so people paying attention to issues, but it all gets down to quality of life issues, economics, and justice. Like if I had to kind of put them in two big buckets, economic issues and social justice issues stood out. And Roland, remember, we released our poll that we do with Essence in September. Many of these issues were very, very similar as well. And there was a different kind of audience. This was the audience with Essence were higher income black women. These were women who were middle to lower income who were showing up at the polls and filling out this exit poll. So it gave us and then being able to be in many other places in the Midwest, in the South primarily, it gave us a lot of good information as we go into dealing with the 116th Congress. When your first segment talked about what criminal justice and the issue around that criminal justice reform and how important that is to black women. So we know as Black Women's Roundtable, it would be one of our key issues along with other kinds of justice issues.